So here's how we adjust the mirrors. Boost button down here. If we want to control the regenerative braking, we just click on these paddles here. This glove box, enough room in there for my laptop. Something you don't see in a lot of cars. We've got these redundant seat controls here. I'm Justin Pritchard for Driving.ca. This is the all-electric Genesis GV60, and we'll be learning all about it in this video. My tester is the Genesis GV60 Performance, featuring all-wheel drive, a 77.4 kilowatt-hour battery pack, and up to 483 horsepower, backed by up to 516 pounds of torque when you use the power-adding boost mode engaged by the green button on its steering wheel. Range on a full charge is about 380 kilometers at room temperature. Make that about 350 during my chilly mid-fall test drive in Northern Ontario with the heat blasting. My top-line tester came in at 79,000 Canadian dollars with little less than everything the Genesis brand knows about tech, design, and style, so let's dig in. In my tester's Uyuni white paint, the trim lines and accents pop against the sheet metal, igniting its visual character. Closer inspection of the bodywork is rewarded handsomely, with precise, flush, and almost entirely smooth surfaces making up most of the GV60's skin. The tight tolerances for panel gaps and extended use of flush-fitting elements are more aerodynamic, quieter, and energy efficient, but these engineering requirements can be a gift to the designers. Here, they've used them to help give the GV60 a one-of-a-kind look. The first impression carries on as you walk up and board. There's some drama as the flush-mounted motorized door handles present themselves as you approach, with welcome lighting that engages after dark for added effect. So let me get you up close with some of my favorite details and touches in here that I think you're going to appreciate. So here's how we adjust the mirrors. Just pick the side that you want with this. Little controls inside there, and push the button in the middle to fold those mirrors in. Very interesting touch. I have never seen that before in hundreds and hundreds of different cars. This metal trim, and this is real metal here, this feels heavy duty, it looks high end. They haven't used it at all of the touch points. There are some metallic surfaces in here that are actually plastic, but the main ones being on the steering wheel and down here on the center console. And all of these buttons are metal, and this is metal. And that gives things a high-end look and feel that help to justify the price tag. Got a head-up display up here. I think you can see that. It's a little tricky sometimes for the camera to focus, but there it is, floating just ahead of us. Boost button down here, of course. We press that for some additional horsepower. If we want to control the regenerative braking, we just click on these paddles here. That's less regenerative braking and more regenerative braking. And we can see down there in this little icon how much regenerative braking that we have going on depending on the setting that we choose. So with that maxed out, you're in what some would call one pedal driving. You release the throttle, vehicle slows down a lot. With that turned off, it'll just coast like a regular car. And what's probably been one of my favorite touches actually right here, this glove box. Enough room in there for my laptop. And it's a drawer, and it's flat, which means it's easy to keep your stuff organized. The other touch I think you'll really appreciate is something you don't see in a lot of cars. We've got these redundant seat controls here. So if I've got a snoozing passenger, maybe I've got a larger or a smaller passenger about to board, I can adjust the seat from these inboard mounted redundant controls, and that is a pretty handy touch. A dual widescreen panel ahead of the driver houses the instrument cluster and central command screens, and the climate control system is minimized down below it. Just ahead of that, on the floating center console, you'll find the crystal sphere. It's a styling element which I personally find a little cheesy, though I appreciate how it adds some flair to the cabin on entry, and some drama when you fire up the motors and it rotates over to reveal the rotary shift-by-wire mechanism. So alongside the unique mirror adjustment joystick, that's two styling elements that I've never seen before, all before I'm even buckled up. I think a lot of shoppers will find the GV60 to be a bigger machine in person than photos or videos lead on. To my eye, the look of this machine has a way of visually shrinking it on a page or screen. When I first met it in real life, I found it larger and more accommodating than I was expecting. Now you may not have seen inside of one of these before, so let me show you how much room I've got up here in my comfortable seated driving position and how much room is directly behind me.
So first thing you notice, nothing crowded, plenty of knee room. I've still got well over the width of my hand above me in terms of headroom, even with this big panoramic sunroof up here. We've got this floating center console, so a lot of open space under here. Notice the front floor there is also flat. Little cubby down here, some extra storage space for your phone. Keep that out of your reach, out of the way. Easy to keep your driving environment organized. Nothing feels cramped or crowded. This is a fairly typical crossover driving position. I think a little higher off the ground than you might think from looking at this in photos. Now let's see how someone of my size, about 5'10" and 200 pounds, would fit directly behind themselves in the back seat. First thing to notice there, very, very big door opening, easy to get in here without too much bending or twisting. Look at this legroom here. I've got the width of 2 hands in front of my knees. Also, completely flat rear floor here as well, adding a little bit of a sense of space. Some storage down there. Headroom tightening up a little bit here, about 4 fingers worth of additional headroom up above me. We do have the bulkhead for the sunroof structure up here ahead of us, and this kind of comes up this way. So headroom is all right, a little bit tighter, a little bit more claustrophobic, but certainly tons of room back here. I think for 4 adults on a road trip, no problem at all. I've probably even got room to cross my legs and hang out and relax. I'd sit back here for 4 hours, would you? I think it'd be okay. So ultimately, I think no issue for 4 adults and some other things in the back. Let's take a quick look at the cargo area. Power tailgate, of course. Plenty of room for our standard kit, which we usually have. Tripod bag, camera bag, gym bag, handy cargo cover. Some extra storage under here. Got our travel charging cable, tire mobility kit. In place of a spare tire, always important to know what your vehicle's got for a spare tire or mobility kit, because that has an impact on what happens if you get a flat. In this case, tire mobility kit, little inflator, can of foam in there, enough to seal that tire and get you to a repair shop for replacement. Useful power outlet here for your camping cooler or some recharging. So folding the seats down, a little tricky to find the lever, but if you dig sort of right down in here and give that a pull, there we go. Not fully flat, but close enough. So yeah, that's the trunk.
Nearby, storage is ample, and the generously sized center console packs plenty of space with a flat front floor and low-mounted storage cubby, adding a further sense of openness and flexibility. Rear seats are easily accessed and feature generous amounts of adult-friendly legroom, though headroom in the back will begin to tighten quickly for occupants much taller than me. The totally flat rear floor enables additional space and comfort for those sitting in back, especially if you've got an occupant in all 3 rear seats. The GV60's interior was responsible for a large portion of my positive impressions during this test drive. Aside from the striking and upscale overall look, I consistently appreciated the smooth and responsive performance of the easily learned central command system, flawless operation from the Android Auto interface, and the ease with which I could access a multitude of functions and displays with just a few button presses. The steering wheel controls can be daunting and busy at first, but once committed to memory, they provide fingertip access to a multitude of customizations and controls, even changing the displayed information on the cluster and allowing drivers to preset their favorite functions. Featured content favorites included the turn signal camera mirrors, a feature I regularly encounter on Hyundai, Kia, and Genesis products and wish I saw more of elsewhere. These provide an additional layer of security and confidence when maneuvering in traffic or changing lanes on the highway. Very slick stuff. The heated steering wheel and seats get fiery hot in about 45 seconds on a cold morning, and the heat pump climate control system starts blowing hot air in just seconds since there's no engine to heat up first. By the way, on a fully charged battery around 5 degrees Celsius, the difference between leaving the heat off and blasting it on max dropped driving range by no more than 20 kilometers on my test drive. Your results may vary. The Genesis GV60 turns in a spectacular after-dark drive in most regards, though it's not perfect. Low beams provide generous and thickly saturated coverage with clean white light in the short to mid-distance range, easing eye strain and providing plenty of reach into tree lines and culverts. But the high beams are even more impressive, specifically for their ability to carry that thick, clean white light far off into the distance, while engaging faraway reflective sign surfaces. Still, I did leave my tester wishing for an improvement to its displays at nighttime. Dimming the screens sufficiently to avoid eye strain makes them dark enough that they can be a little tricky to read at a glance. Some digital displays in competitor products do a better job of conveying information when they're dimmed way down. On the road, the GV60 impresses in some areas and disappoints in others. On the plus side, the GV60 is capable of smooth, buttery, peaceful, and quiet cruising. Even at elevated speeds, road and wind noise levels are very nicely controlled, with most audible disturbances kept out of the passenger cell. At a good clip, you're rolling along softly in a quiet environment, and there's no need to raise your voice for a conversation or phone call. Even on rough backroad surfaces and pothole-covered secondary highways, the worst surface conditions do little to upset the GV60's ride, beyond some elevated rumbling from beneath the car, or the odd click or pop from its interior paneling that's par for the course here. A feeling of density, rigidity, and controlled softness shines through the ride, and I was impressed with the GV60's ability to deliver plenty of carefully controlled suspension travel to help keep things nicely cushioned. Shoppers can therefore expect consistent ride comfort and noise levels across a wide range of surfaces. But on the downside, driving enthusiasts may find too many of the GV60's sporty signals to be muted. Specifically, the steering wheel is thick, and the steering system favors a slower, creamier calibration than some enthusiasts will like. The setup, even in sport mode, makes it easy to drive the GV60 smoothly and precisely, though drivers who prefer steering with strong feel, feedback, and urgency have better options. Ditto the brakes. Though performance is strong, the feel at the pedal lacks both the initial light pressure bite and ability to precisely modulate brake pressure, two other sporty signals that satisfy enthusiast drivers. Like the steering, the brakes perform well, but the feel at the controls fails to ignite that car-to-driver connection on the level that some enthusiast drivers are looking for. There is redemption though. The firepower should more than compensate for most. Engage sport mode, hit the boost button, and stuff the accelerator to the firewall, and the GV60 leaps from 0 to 100 km an hour in just 3.8 seconds, each tire laying down a little rubber as the traction control system fights to put all that torque to the road. And there's no need to turn the traction assist off for a crushing launch. The system is very on the ball. Torque vectoring shapes the power delivery across both axles to make the GV60 easy to steer with the accelerator, overdriving one or more wheels and allowing the driver to push the rear of the car around bends with that instant on torque if they like. This gives another dimension to the handling feel, making it easy for spirited drivers to steer the car with their right foot if they like. So throttle response is lightning quick. I just wish the brakes and steering had a similar sense of precision and urgency. All said, here's a compelling way to spend this sort of money on a flexible and generously appointed electric crossover, especially when consistent comfort, effective tech, a knockout cabin, and crushing acceleration are high on your wish list.
Thank you for watching. My name's Justin Pritchard for Driving.ca. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button down below so you never miss a new upload. And until next time, take care and drive safe.
If you liked this video, we've got plenty more like it, so consider hitting the subscribe button down below so you never miss a new upload, leaving a like if you learned something new, and until next time, take care and drive safe.